Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday, and we have a huge amount of news to discuss today. We have the US announcing some interest rates later today at 6 p.m. UTC time, so we're going to be breaking that down for us all today. We're also going to take a look at the latest cryptocurrency news, and we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin chart as well and see what is happening within the market. First of all, I would like to say a big thank you to Tim, who has already donated the first super chat we have ever received here on the Crypto Saving Expert channel. We've just turned those on today, so thank you very much for donating to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. Let's take a look at what else is saying in the chat. We have somebody asking what time is the Fed meeting. So as I say, that is at 6 p.m. tonight UTC time. So very interesting to see how that will play out here. We will discuss all about it. Yes, it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. You might have to transfer that time across yourself. I'm not 100% confident on that. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin price now anyway and see what's happening within the markets. We have Bitcoin currently sat at $28,159, and we have Ethereum sat at $1,790. Both within the last 24 hours have seen a slight move to the upside, but I'm expecting a huge amount of volatility later today. So let's discuss that a little bit more. Let's take a look at the US Fed funds rate. We can see here that it's expected to see an increase. This is the wrong page I have pulled up here. Brilliant. Not very useful here from me. It's expected that we could see a 0.25% increase in interest rates tonight, or 0%. They're the two major points that people are looking at right now. So what we are seeing here is, well, let's discuss everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks. First of all, we saw SVB shut down, and this is because banks spend their user deposits to buy bonds, and SVB had spent billions of dollars of users' deposits on bonds, but the value of those bonds had declined because the US keep pushing up their interest rates. When interest rates rise, it means the newer issued bonds are of higher value because they have higher interest rates on them. So these banks are essentially holding huge amounts of unrealized losses, and SVB had to liquidate those losses because they needed to give withdrawals to their users. And then we've seen this continue throughout the banking industry. The more users that decide to remove their money from the banks, the more they need to realize their losses in order to get that liquid cash to facilitate those withdrawals. And we've seen this spread across the banking industry right now. And all because the US have been increasing their interest rates so high, they have been creating these bigger unrealized losses behind the scenes within the banks. Now, this has become a huge problem, and the US don't want to see this continue. They don't want us to have these higher interest rates causing the banks to have these huge amounts of unrealized losses. Now, there was a point that has just come into my head that I thought I should mention at that point in time. The big point is here at these points is these bonds that the banks are acquiring, they have a duration period, and at the end of that duration, the banks can sell them for par value. But during the period of the time throughout the duration, the value kind of goes like this, essentially. So it'll be at the par value at the start and the end, but through the duration, it may go down in value because it's less desirable when there's other bonds out there with higher interest rates, especially when the Fed are increasing the interest rates. So they need to wait essentially for the duration of that bond to finish, otherwise they have to sell it for a loss. Now, the Fed and the FDIC did step in and say that they were going to allow those banks to use their bonds as collateral for their par value, even through the downturn of the duration of that bond period. So until they can actually essentially create the par value of that bond from that bond, even though its actual market value is less during that period of time. I hope I've explained that clearly. So that is the issue they're seeing with the interest rates. The more they increase their interest rates, the more unrealized losses that they are seeing, and the more they have to cover in this way. So we're hopefully going to see less of a reduction, less of an increase in the interest rates this afternoon. As always, the markets, the cryptocurrency industry don't usually like higher interest rates. It's a huge problem. Higher interest rates mean individuals as well are taking out less loans. Therefore, there's less liquid cash moving around the economy, and therefore people are moving out of risky assets like stocks and like cryptocurrencies. So that is essentially what's happening tonight with the interest rates. I hope that I've explained that well. If you are enjoying today's stream, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button to help us grow the channel as big as possible. We are on a mission to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we need your help to do so. So please don't forget to do that, and make sure to share the stream with your friends as well. I'm sure they will be very, very grateful that you've got them involved in the cryptocurrency space and that you've brought them to the best YouTube channel out there. I am a little bit biased when I say that, but definitely share the stream with your friends to help push them into the cryptocurrency space. Maybe they'll learn something and they can help themselves by buying some Bitcoin. Potentially, let's take a look at what's happening in the chat. Again, Tim, thank you so much for your first donation to the chat. The first super chat we have ever received here at Crypto Saving Expert. As soon as we end this stream, I'm going to go and tell the team the positive news of the day. So this is what we are seeing at the moment. So this will have an immediate effect on the price of Bitcoin as always, but now more than ever. I mean, over and over again, we see interest rates affect the price of Bitcoin and the stock market and the entire cryptocurrency industry. But as of recent, with all this banking fear, it's only going to make it more volatile. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens tonight at 6 p.m. As always, we will keep you tuned over on the Crypto Saving Expert website. Make sure to tune in with our Twitter as well. We will be announcing it immediately as soon as we find out, with a few key points to keep an eye on as well. We've had a team meeting this morning about that news announcement that we will provide for you all, so make sure to check that out. Let's take a look now at some cryptocurrency news other than those interest rates. I'm sure some of you may be sick of hearing about the interest rates by now. Let me just check the stream is all running smoothly. Let me go over here. We are currently talking about SVB's crisis and how Coinbase actually decided to step in. So let's take a look at this. Coinbase offered Circle $3 billion to stabilize USDCs during SVB's crisis. So when SVB announced that they were going to have to liquidate their assets, realized those unrealized losses that I was just discussing from their bonds, there was a huge amount of fear within the cryptocurrency industry. I'm sure you all know about this. And USDC depegged from the dollar because it was announced that they held some of their reserves in SVB. And that was a huge concern for the cryptocurrency industry. Now, as soon as the FDIC stepped in and said they'd be covering any deposits into SVB and a couple of other banks, and maybe somewhere in the future, those fears essentially went away, and people were able to buy $1 for 90 cents. It was absolutely insane. And we saw the price of Bitcoin down at around $19,000 at this point in time. I can pull up on the chart so we can see where it was there. This was over the weekend of the 10th of March. And then we saw that huge move to the upside following all of the announcement that came following this, and USDC did repeg to the dollar. Let's check that out here. It's still fifth in terms of market cap. If you want the most recent market data, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com. We have the best news, guides, courses, and market data completely for free. As you can see here, USDC has repegged to the dollar. It did fall massively down to 82 cents. People that took advantage of that, I envy you. That was a brilliant trade. Taking a look at this, we also see that throughout that time, there was a lot of fear within the industry, Coinbase stepped in to help Circle. And this is really important, because it's really important to see the leading players pull together during these times. Now, USDC depegging from the dollar and never returning, in my opinion, had a really small likelihood. But if it were to happen, it could have really negatively impacted the cryptocurrency markets. We can see here, though, that Coinbase did step up to the plate to help them. After finalizing the agreement, Coinbase and Circle were on the verge of announcing it to the public before the FDIC disclosed that it would cover all deposits at the failed bank. And Fortune reported, citing someone familiar with the matter. So as I've just said, the banking industry was all in a huge amount of fear. We all did not know what was going to happen next. And then the FDIC said they'd cover any deposits. So any money that was held within SVB was covered by the FDIC. So therefore, Coinbase never needed to step in anymore. In the week leading to the closure, SVB suffered a $42 billion bank run after failing to raise additional capital to cover its losses. Several several crypto firms that deposited their assets at the bank scrambled along with investors to withdraw them before the collapse. So Circle instructed its employees to withdraw the company's funds on Friday the 10th of March, and the transaction failed to go through, and SVB collapsed shortly afterwards. With time, reports urged that $3.3 billion of Circle's reserves were stuck at SVB, causing USDC to lose its peg. Although the stranded amount accounted for roughly 10% of the company's total reserves, investors panicked and began to sell off their USDC, briefly dragging its price down. Now, I actually think it went lower than 90 cents. Let's take a look back at the CoinMarketCap crypto saving expert website. Just said the competitor, that is not what we use anymore. 82 cents we did fall down to over there. So that is what we are seeing right now. Let's take a look at the next article here and see what happens. Before we do, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press the bell notification button to help us grow the channel as big as possible. As I say, we are on a mission to get to 100,000 subscribers, and I would absolutely love to have that plaque sat behind me. So that is the plan. Fingers crossed. Jordan's already said it's in my hands if we get it, so hopefully we can make that a reality this year. Let's take a look at this article here and see what is happening. So we have Australian Prudential Regulator asks banks to report exposure to crypto firms. So the APR raise move could challenge Australian startups' access to banking services, as they are already being debanked for fear of crypto exposure. The Australian Regulation Authority has asked banks to start reporting their exposure to crypto-related ventures and startups in the aftermath of SVB collapse and brewing global financial concerns. So according to Financial Review reports, people familiar with the matter said the APRA asked some banks to submit such reports daily, while others are allowed to do so less frequently. The regulator's move comes as the US banking system is in turmoil, with 3 banks having collapsed over liquidity concerns. Recall that the US authorities recently closed SVB and Signature Bank, with Silvergate Capital Bank voluntarily liquidating itself. We have discussed this a lot in today's stream. We are seeing the effects of this continue. We're not just seeing it within the US as well. We're seeing it with Swiss Bank, and we're seeing it with the Australian banks as well. So we may see this continue for a long period of time. I've just done a huge amount of research into the $1 million bet, into the fact that the former CTO of Coinbase has put a $1 million bet on the fact that Bitcoin will reach $1 million within 90 days. Now, this is basically putting a bet on the fact that the banking industry is going to collapse and that we're going to see hyperinflation. I've just done a huge amount of interest on this, investigations on a huge amount of research on this, we should say. And it's very, very interesting. The amount of banks that have unrealized losses for the next 3 months is huge. But after that 3-month mark, it starts to calm down, and their unrealized losses, the duration of their bonds come to an end, essentially. So I'm going to do a little bit more digging on that, and then I'm going to do a video over on my own channel about that as well later today. So make sure, if you do want to go over to Interpret Crypto. I do YouTube videos over on my own channel as well, so please check that out. I'm sure Jordan won't mind me asking. Let's take a look at the chat. Tim has said, I wanted to take a punt at USDC at 90 cents, but decided against it after the other stable coins collapsed. Yes, it was a very fearful time to be within the cryptocurrency industry, but as I always say, those that perform well within the cryptocurrency industry are the ones that turn their original fears of their original emotions of fear into greed, and their original emotions of greed into fear. Whenever the markets are looking incredibly fearful, that is when I get incredibly greedy and try and dollar cost average into any position that I see fit. Let's take a look at the Fear and Greed Index while we're on the conversation. We have it up here. We have Fear and Greed Index up at 62. Now, it was at 68 yesterday, so we have seen it tick back a little slightly. So that is something to keep an eye on. I don't like to see this in the greed section. I like to see it down in the red. That is when I like to accumulate. So we'll see how this plays out in the next couple of weeks. We should also take a look at the Ethereum chart as well. Remind me at the end of today's stream, when we take a look at the Bitcoin chart, we'll also take a look at Ethereum, because Ethereum is looking particularly interesting. Let's take a look at the next article here though and see what's happening here. So Texas are going to release a Bitcoin protection bill. So Texas will forward a Bitcoin bill to protect users, holders and miners. The bill comes after the unfolding banking crisis, with Texas amongst the leading US states in Bitcoin adoption. Last month, it was reported that the US state was proposing a 0% tax on crypto bill to lead to cryptocurrency adoption in the county. And the US has had a love-hate relationship with Bitcoin, with several states vocalizing a pro-Bitcoin stance. Still, the asset has also faced scrutiny from government officials and regulators over the years. And despite the slow regulation and growing adoption within the country, Texas is spotlighting itself as the go-to state for Bitcoin users, holders, and miners. So throughout this problem that we're seeing right now, we're seeing a huge amount of countries make regulations too tough for cryptocurrency exchanges, for example, to get into the space. So we're seeing all over the world different exchanges move out of jurisdictions because of the tough regulation, but we're also seeing counties and countries and cities trying to become a hotspot for cryptocurrency. And those that do that, I believe, are the ones that are going to perform incredibly well in the next couple of years. Those that try and put regulations going to stifle cryptocurrency growth are going to fall behind. So that is what I'm expecting. And Texas have really taken a pro-Bitcoin stance over the last couple of months, and they continue to make actions forwards. So hopefully they continue to move forwards with this. We can see here, the bill states individuals who mine Bitcoin in Texas will never be inhibited by any law or resolution that restricts the practice of securing the Bitcoin network. This section in particular suggests miners will gain complete protection within the borders of Texas. So it's incredibly nice to see this here. We want to see adoption. We want to see people feel secure in their decisions to become a Bitcoin miner and start securing the network and investing in Bitcoin and become pro-Bitcoin. Let's take a look at here. We can see Tim, it says, I agree, I don't like greed on here, it makes me expect a drop. Me too. The greed on there is slightly concerning. I'm usually one of these people, right? Usually I say to everybody, I never go against the general trend. So when everybody is feeling fearful, I feel greedy. When everyone's feeling greedy, I feel fearful. During the last bull market, when everybody was saying we were going to see a hyper bull run and we were going to continue to the moon for the next 5 years, I just don't believe it, because I follow the trend till the end. I will never ever go against the trend. But there's one thing here that's making me feel like this greed isn't the end, because of the banking system. Now, this is a whole different ball game, I think, right now. I am concerned about what can happen soon. I think there are two big possibilities with this. There is also still the chance that we could see Bitcoin drop dramatically if, for example, a war were to begin or other problems occur, like when we saw COVID-19, when the pandemic began, Bitcoin dropped down to $3,000. And that wasn't something that we could foresee or expect. There is always that possibility. But as the fear within the banking industry spreads and more problems arise, we could see Bitcoin continue to pump. Now, do I believe that Bitcoin is going to pump to $1 million, just like the former CTO of Coinbase? Probably not. But we could see big moves to the upside continue as fears spread and people look for a safe haven like Bitcoin, like gold, and like silver. So definitely something to be keeping an eye on. Let's take a look at the next news article. I keep throwing this can around everywhere, so I hope that's not making a huge noise in the thing. Anyway, before we forget, please do like, and subscribe and press that bell notification button so that you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. As I said, we do these shows every single weekday, talking about the news, talking about the prices, seeing what's going on in the market, and this is the best way to stay up to date with everything crypto. If you haven't already as well, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com, go to that big blue button there and press sign up. You just need to put in your email, create a password, and if you tick that button on that box underneath as well, you get access to the newsletter every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. where we recap the week in crypto and we predict what's going to happen next. So you have unfortunately missed yesterday's, but if you sign up when you receive your next one on Tuesday, you can see the backlog of newsletters and see how our predictions have performed. I do believe they performed very, very well. We have a team of analysts, we have a team of news writers that all collaborate together on a Tuesday to create a pretty exciting newsletter. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. We have reached 5,000 signups on the site right now. Now, we haven't been live for that long of a time. Prior to the site going live, people were just opting in for the newsletter, but since the site has gone live, we've had 5,000 users sign up to use our completely free cryptocurrency courses, so make sure to check that out. People are educating themselves about crypto, and that excites me a lot. Let's take a look at the news note though anyway. Instead of me just getting excited over how nice the website is, we have here Open raises $28 million, that would be a bit extortionate, in a Series A funding round. So the Web3 AI powered platform raised in an investment Series A round the amount of $28 million at a total valuation of $100 million. The startup disclosed the investment exclusively with TechCrunch. So led by the most active venture capitalist in 23, Anna Monica Brands, the round also included other recognized VCs like Dragonfly Capital and a bunch of others. Among other investors are NBA player Russell Westbrook, GSR Markets, and a couple of others as well. So previously, Open closed a $10 million seed round in 2021 from investors including, but not limited to, a huge line here like Whale Shark, Twitch founder Justin Kan, the Sandbox co-founder, and a couple of others. So they've had a huge amount of investments here. Very interesting to see how this project will continue within the next couple of months. Following this funding rounds, I expect we'll see some exciting things coming from them. Let's take a look at the next article here and see what's next. We have GameFi protocol Gala sues P Network over negligence and demands $28 million in compensation. So Gala Games, the brains behind the popular GameFi project, has filed a civil lawsuit against the cross-chain bridge provider P Network over negligence, claiming that the protocol failed to fix a misconfiguration in its code. So let's take a look at this. This is looking pretty interesting. Before we do, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press the bell notification button so that you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday talking about what's happening in the markets, talking about what could happen next in the markets. Of course, today we have the very interesting interest rates coming out today at 6 p.m. UTC time, and that will immediately affect the price of Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency industry. So don't forget to like and subscribe, press that bell notification button, and we'll be back here in the morning to discuss the effects of this and what we could see in the long term for the cryptocurrency industry. But let's first take a look at this article now. We have Gala suffered a massive hack in November 2022 after an attacker exploited a vulnerability on the P-Gala bridge deployed on the BNB chain to allow users to move assets from Ethereum to BNB chain. And the hacker minted over $2 billion in Gala and moved the tokens to the decentralized protocol PancakeSwap, where they dumped the tokens, draining around $4.5 million from the liquidity pool and causing the digital asset to plummet. P-Network admitted to leaking a governance. So after the incident, blockchain firm SlowMist revealed that the hack resulted from a private key leak in one of P-Network's affiliated smart contracts for Gala, and the company further disclosed that the leaked private key could be found on GitHub. So according to the official press release, P-Network confirmed SlowMist's theory, admitting that one of its engineers in charge of the contract mistakenly left a key in the public GitHub repository. So the cross-chain infrastructure provider reached out to Gala before the attack with a plan to deactivate the BNB smart contract, which was never executed. And Gala has now sued P-Network, claiming that the hack resulted from negligence and tortuous interference from the cross-chain bridge. Now, that is a very infuriating attack. It's not even something technical that has happened over a long period of time that somebody's found a bug in the smart contract. It's literally someone putting the private key online. What is the first rule of cryptocurrency? It's never share your private keys with anyone, and a huge company have just posted it onto GitHub like it's not a problem. So that is what we've seen there. Let's take a look at the chat now and see what's happening here. We have and honestly, I'm still very excited, Tim, over that super chat. We've received, for those that have just joined in, our first super chat ever on the Crypto Saving Expert channel, thanks to Tim. He's donated £5 to the channel. In fact, $6.13 we have so far in the chat. Thank you very much. Let's take a look at the next chat. Tim says, oof, what it would be like to be that developer. Yes, I'm sure he's in a huge amount of trouble right now. Let's take a look at the next article here and see what's happening. Ronin Bridge hacker attempts to steal from Euler Finance's exploiter. A cryptocurrency address linked to the $625 million Axie Infinity's Ronin network hack, has attempted to steal from the hacker who siphoned $200 million from DeFi protocol Euler Finance. The hackers, I love these AI images, have come head to head. So we use AI images for our posts on news articles, and I think they look really, really good. And I think they make us stand out from the crowd as well. If you do enjoy our news articles, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com and press that blue sign up button, sign up to the website. It's very exciting. You get access to the free cryptocurrency courses, some of them written in text, some of them written in text with video description presented by yours truly. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. We can see here in an on-chain transaction first flagged by Twitter user at Proof of Jake, the Ronin bridge hacker sent 2 ETH tokens to the Euler exploiter along with an encrypted message. Ronin's hacker asked Euler's exploiter to decrypt the message with the private key of the address it was sent to. Further analysis by Twitter user revealed that the repo linked by the Ronin attacker had a vulnerability in its elliptic library, which could trick a victim and enable the hacker to steal money. After a few minutes, speculations were confirmed as another address tagged Euler deployer messaged the Euler exploiter in another on-chain transaction, urging them to exercise caution while interacting with the sent encrypted message. And the Euler deployer wrote, "Be very careful using that decryption tool. The simplest way out here is to return funds." So in response, the Euler exploiter messaged the deployer stating they were still interested in doing the right thing by returning the stolen funds to the Euler team. And the Euler exploiter replied, "We still want to do the right thing. Returning funds to the Euler team. Will communicate shortly." So we may see a response to that in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we will talk about this on the channel and see the news as it unravels. So make sure to stay tuned on our live updates. Now it's time, as I'm sure a lot of you want to hear, we are moving on to the Bitcoin chart, seeing what's happening. We'll also take a look at the Ethereum chart as well. I haven't planned it for today's stream, but I think it's something we need to look at. Please make sure, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe and press the bell notification button to help us grow the channel as much as possible. Let's see how many followers we are on so far. We currently have 2,772 subscribers here on the channel. As I said, we're on a mission to get to 100,000 subscribers, so please make sure to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button. We have hit 30 likes for today's stream. We have seen a sudden increase in the last couple of days, so thank you very much for everybody who is continuously tuning in. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart here and see what is happening. Let me pull the live chat back up so that I can see everything that's going on. Jerome is putting we've just received another super chat. Thank you very much to James. I'm loving this hashtag, let Jess have the super chats. I'm gonna put this to the team after. We did have a discussion about this. I spoke to Jordan about me keeping the super chats. He said if enough comes in potentially, which I believe is fair enough, because Jordan has spent over $1 million on creating the Crypto Saving Expert website. He's giving to the community. I think when we give something back, maybe it should go back to line his pockets potentially. But we'll pass on the message and see how far we get. We have here Ronin bridge hacker attempts to steal from. Oh, we've already discussed this. We're moving on to the Bitcoin chart. Let me pull my keyboard forward so we can take a look at what's going on here. And again, I have not pre-planned this part of the channel, so let's get ready for this on-chain analysis live. On-chain analysis what am I saying? Bitcoin analysis live on the stream. Let's take a look at this. Interestingly, it could potentially be said that we have a huge inverse head and shoulders here. I like the sound of that. Let's take a look at the price prediction we could predict from this. I mean, let's take a look at around here. We could be looking at a pump all the way up to $37,000. Why is that important? Because if we take a look at Bitcoin one exclamation mark, you can see the CME chart for Bitcoin. We have here, we can see if we get the horizontal line up here, we have a CME gap down at 20,345. That's not looking that nice. But we also do have a nice move to the upside potentially with a CME gap up at $35,230. So if that head and shoulders does play out exactly, we're expecting that CME gap to close potentially I was expecting, to be honest, when we broke through this $25,250 level, it's a huge level, right? And it was acting as a resistance for a huge period of time. And we spoke about it again on the channel over and over again, that it was a huge level of resistance and that we'd probably take a while to break through it. Now, this banking fear, this industry fear around the banking system did cause us to break through it, but we didn't get that confirmation bounce that I wanted. Now, I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying if the price moved to the downside, and we did get a confirmation bounce of that, I wouldn't mind too much. I mean, I don't really want it to. I'm liking this huge move to the upside. I'm liking my bags going up in value. But if we were to come down to the downside and this support held, we'd just be looking that little bit stronger. And we'd still be holding that inverse head and shoulders pattern. So it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. But the likelihood of that happening right now, I'm not sure, because the fear in the banking industry is continuing. It'll all depend on the interest rates tonight and see how that goes. Let's take a look at the shorter time frames and see what's happening. Let's go over to the 1 hour chart, and we can see here that we have a let's put a level of support in here. So first of all, I'm going to take, now I would actually argue that it's from the wicks of these candles across here, so we can see over and over again we have bounced this as a level of resistance here. Support, 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 support. So we still have this strong level of support that has been on the hourly chart since last Friday. Now that is a strong level of support in my opinion. We are currently set at around just above $27,920. So I'm keeping my eye on that. We definitely have a level of resistance here, unfortunately, at just around the $28,370 level, if we want to be specific. But what this creates is an inclining triangle. Now, this is really, really important. So the benefit of seeing one of these chart patterns is that it's actually a very bullish signal. There's a higher probability that it will break to the upside than to the downside. Because what we're seeing here is we're seeing buyers want to buy in at higher and higher prices. The point at which the buyers say, no, we're going to outperform the sellers, is getting higher and higher, and they're going to meet essentially at this point. But over and over again, the buyers are outperforming the sellers continuously, and then eventually when they get through this buy wall, there's a higher probability that it will break to the upside essentially. And we could continue to see that nice move to the upside on the smaller time frames. That's what I'm looking at on the 1 hour chart. We can take a look at the indicators as well. We can see that the RSI is looking neutral on the 1 hour. The MACD is looking neutral on the 1 hour. We did see that move to the upside, so on the bigger time frames, we'll probably see some overbought signals. Yep, here we are. The RSI on the daily chart is saying that we're slightly overbought, but that is exactly as expected when we see a nice move to the upside. Right now, we have seen some sort of consolidation at these points on the lower time frames, and therefore it's looking pretty nice. We are creating some levels of support at these points, as well as building that level of resistance, but we don't mind. When we see price consolidation, it's all healthy price movements for the price of Bitcoin. Let's take a look at what is happening over here. Let's take a look here. We've currently got 272 viewers on this stream. Thank you so much to everybody who's been tuning in. The streams have just taken off in the last week. It's been very fun to take part in. So make sure, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button so that you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's now take a look at the price of Ethereum. As I promised, let's see what's happening over here. Before we do, let's run through those CME gaps again. We have CME gaps sat at $20,345, and we have one sat at $35,230. When we came down to this point, it was actually pretty funny because we have this CME gap at $20,000 for a pretty long time, $19,990. And when the price came down, we were like, oh, well, at least we closed the CME gap. Like, at least we've got some sort of benefit from this. We're creating another level of support. We're closing that CME gap. It will no longer be a concern. The same weekend, nope, created another CME gap down at $20,345. So we still have that concern in there, but that is what we are seeing. So hopefully we will close that higher CME gap. That's what I'm hoping for. But you never know. Again, if it does come down and close that lower CME gap, then we would then have less of a concern, as long as it didn't create another one on the same weekend like it did last time. Let's take a look at Ethereum now. Anyway, it has pulled up some old drawings. Let's delete all those. Let's start from the beginning. Let's go into the 1 hour chart and see what's happening here. Something pretty nice. I did analyze this last night, but my lines have not saved as usual. So we can see here we have a level of resistance at around 1,817, I would say. We also could connect the wicks here, and I differ between trading the wicks and trading the bodies of these. 1,833. That's looking like a level of resistance. We also have a level of support here. I mean, there's clearly one across here. Let's see if we can connect this to this. If we take the bodies of these candles. Yeah, so if we take the bodies of all 3 of these candles, you can see here, we have that level of support from all 3 points there. I should zoom in so you can see this a little bit clearer. So we have this level has been used as a support 3 times. And this is currently sat at $1,760. So I am keeping an eye on that. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance in the markets right now. None of this is pre-planned. I'm getting ahead of myself. I like to waffle on these streams sometimes by the end of them. So we can see here, let's take a look over here. We have currently 50 live viewers on today's stream. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button to help us grow the channel as big as possible. As I said, we are on a mission to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we won't stop these live streams until we do so. We are doing these every single weekday at around 11 a.m, 12 a.m. I was a little bit late today, but that's because I was crafting together the beautiful thumbnail that we have on today's stream. I think that's probably the best thumbnail I've ever made. Please let me know in the comments if you liked it, and if you're new to the channel because of the thumbnail, I would love to know, because that took me a very, very long time. Let's take a look at the Ethereum, at the Bitcoin dominance chart anyway. So Bitcoin dominance has been soaring in the last couple of days, because I believe a lot of the money coming into cryptocurrency right now is because people are looking as a hedge away from the banks. They're looking at assets like Bitcoin, like gold, like silver, and Bitcoin is seen as the digital gold. Altcoins, however, are not, unfortunately. They do pump our bags massively, but they're not seen as digital gold. When people outside of cryptocurrencies are looking for somewhere to store their value, they're not looking for a risky altcoin. They're looking for assets like Bitcoin, and that has pumped the price of Bitcoin massively. Now, this is making me incredibly excited because the price of Bitcoin pumping usually is followed by a little bit of a big bit of a pump for the Ethereum and the altcoin markets as well. So we will see how that goes. Taking a look at the chat, Jerome said I should be working, laughing emoji. This is more fun. Stay here. Ignore your boss. I'm sure Jordan wouldn't like that if I told everyone to ignore him in the work as well. But, you know, we have a lot of fun here on these live streams. Let's take a look at this. So now Bitcoin has pumped, Bitcoin dominance has risen. We may potentially see a nice move for the rest of the cryptocurrency industry, for Ethereum and some of the altcoins as well, potentially. But we may just see continue to see Bitcoin rip over the next couple of days as fear within the traditional banking system continues. But we'll see how that unravels, and we'll be reporting it here live on the Crypto Saving Expert live streams, YouTube, every single day at 11 a.m. I've started tripping over my words less. It's not gone, but it's got better. So hopefully we're on the up. But that is all we have for today's stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, please like and subscribe and press that bell notification button. And I will be back here tomorrow with more cryptocurrency news.